What's up YouTube? This is Brian from Bull Strength coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about 18 different deadlift variations and what they're used for. Alright, so the first deadlift variation is a deadlift with a band. So pretty much you get a resistance band, get both your feet inside and stand on it. Then you're going to reach down into a sumo deadlift stance, bring your chest up and stand up with the bands in hand. This is good as part of definitely a warm-up if you're hitting your posterior chain or legs. This is definitely a good warm-up exercise. It's also a good sort of a teaching tool for newbies that are unfamiliar with deadlifting. There's pretty much no way to screw up the form with this, which is why I prefer it for newbies. The next exercise is also one that I prefer to use for teaching. This is the dumbbell or kettlebell sumo deadlift. It's also known as the pile squat. You pretty much just get the weight in between your feet, get your hands on the kettlebell or dumbbell, and stand with it. Number 3 is a conventional variation of the dumbbell kettlebell sumo deadlift. This is just a conventional stance. So you pretty much get in between two different kettlebells. Get your hands on the bells, sit your hips back, and stand up with normal conventional deadlift form. Number 4 is the barbell sumo deadlift. So this is a great one for building the quads, building the glutes. It's still hammering pretty hard on your posterior chain, but there's definitely an emphasis on your anterior muscles and the upper part of your leg. So if you're trying to get bigger quads or bigger glutes, this is definitely a powerhouse of an exercise. Number 5, we have the barbell conventional deadlift. This one is probably one of the hardest on your posterior chain. And when I say posterior chain, I mean your hamstrings, your glutes, and your lower back. This is pretty much the classic quintessential deadlift. Number 6 is a banded deadlift, which is more for speed training. If you're into any kind of conjugate style powerlifting, you're going to be using a lot of different resistance bands. Now, technically, the bands are anchored either to the floor or to some heavier objects on the ground, but this variation also works. All right, coming in at number 7 is the deficit deadlift. So if you're a deadlifter that tends to have a sticking point off the floor, this is a great variation to help you build some speed off the floor because of the increased range of motion. It's definitely going to help you pull a lot more quickly off the floor. And alternatively, with number 8, we have the Snatch Deadlift, which also brings you closer to the floor and is better for people that get stuck off the ground. Now, the block pull slash rack pull, this is performed by either putting a barbell, setting it on some blocks, on some plates, or actually setting it in a power rack. And this variation is better for deadlifters that have a sticking point around the hinge, which is where I tend to stick. I can get heavy weight off the ground, but I usually have a hard time locking my hips out. So this is a good variation for that. Number 10 is the Romanian Deadlift, also known as the stiff-legged deadlift. And how I prefer to perform these is I start off with a regular conventional deadlift to get the bar off the floor, and then I lower the weight to the ground as far as I can, basically with ensuring that my legs stay locked out. I do not want to bend my knees. So this is a great one for specifically hitting the hamstrings. Number 11 is a dumbbell slash kettlebell Romanian deadlift. It's exactly the same as with the barbell. You're just doing it with a couple of kettlebells or dumbbells. Number 12 is a Zercher Deadlift. This is ugly. I don't recommend this. I don't like this lift at all. I just figured I'd include it on the list since it exists. Number 13 is the Reeve's Deadlift, which is a deadlift variation with a heavy focus on grip isolation. So you pretty much grab the plates at the end of the barbell and do a standard conventional deadlift. Number 14 is the single leg deadlift, or the single leg RDL. Pretty self-explanatory. Just blast the hamstrings and posterior chain on one side at a time. And next at number 15 is the Bulgarian split deadlift, which is another isolateral deadlift movement. So number 16 is a hack deadlift, which is basically a conventional deadlift where you pull with the barbell behind your legs instead of in front. And this is a fantastic exercise for isolating the quads. This will burn up your quads really quick. But the key thing to remember is to keep the bar path as straight as possible, or else you're going to end up smacking your hamstrings and your calves. So coming in at number 17 is a single arm deadlift, which is another deadlift variation that you can use for grip training. Also requires a lot of balance and patience as far as finding the center part of the barbell. All right, and last but not least is the trap bar deadlift, which is my absolute favorite deadlift variation, only because there is no weirdness as far as the center of gravity goes. You're dead center in the middle of the bar. So there's not excessive strain on your anterior muscles or your posterior muscles. Everything's pretty evenly distributed. And the trap bar deadlift actually has excellent carryover to both the squat and the deadlift. Alright, so that's it for the video. Please leave a like if you found the content useful. And just want to say thanks to everybody. I just passed 100 subscribers. So thank you all for the support. There's a lot more content on the way. And definitely subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to stay up to date. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.